Hi everyone, I'm Kylie and I'm back after 3-4 weeks, 5, I don't know actually, I'll have to go check the dates. But there is a reason why I haven't filmed and I'm gonna get to that in just a second. And there's also something that I have been meaning to talk about. This is like one of my top things that I just have been wanting to discuss, and so here we are today. So yeah, I haven't been on, and there are definitely reasons, and a part of me would love to use the excuse that I put in my mission papers, and I've been kind of preparing for that mentally, spiritually, all that stuff, but that's not the entire truth. So I've been meaning to do another video, but the thing is I would sit down and I would put my camera up and I would have a topic in mind, and then I would film and refilm and refilm and start over and stop and refilm, and if you couldn't tell, my last video was like I edited it. That's really fun. So I edited it, I cut it, and so there was a lot of like footage that you didn't see. But that, even though it was so helpful, gave me so much anxiety, and let me kind of explain why. So my very first video, I just kind of went for it, and then my second video, I was like, man, I want to make it good, I want to not have any awkward pauses, I'm gonna edit it. And so I did, but I found that when I was filming, the passion would go down and then up and then down and then up because I knew that I could cut it out. And it did not make me feel good when I was filming. When I was editing, it was fine, but then when I posted it, it just didn't feel like it was me. And so my last video, I'm still gonna keep it up, but I'm just explaining why I'm probably never gonna edit again, because I just feel like doing it like this and just setting myself up just to talk is better for myself. And so let's get into why I haven't filmed. So like I said, I would stop filming and then I would start again and then stop and then start, and this has to do with my perfectionism. And let me tell you how I found out that I am a perfectionist. So I kind of always knew that I was a little perfectionistic, but I would never coin myself as one. It wasn't until my senior year, when I was so overwhelmed with school and just a lot of different things in my life, and I was like searching on Google, like, I feel like this, and then you just find a bunch of people who feel that way and people talk about it, and it's just, Google's great. And so I did that, and there was an article about perfectionism that came up, and I was like, oh, what's this? Because I don't think I ever really understood what it meant or whatever. And so I clicked on the article, and it was explaining all these feelings to a T that I was feeling, and like I was just so amazed. I was like, am I a perfectionist? And so I looked up more stuff, and I was just relating to a ton of it, and it like took up my night. But anyways, so that was my senior year, and after a while it just kind of faded out and I kind of forgot about that. But then I started going to counseling towards the end of this last college semester, so towards the beginning of this year, and I was working on my anxiety, but it turns out that my anxiety wasn't the biggest problem I was dealing with. It was actually perfectionism, which is anxiety's best friend. And so I talked to the counselor, and he gave me some pages on anxiety that kind of or on perfectionism, that opened my eyes so much. And so I went to LDS Family Services, and so the counselor was LDS, and they gave it deals with the gospel. And so I still think it applies to everyone. So if you're watching and you're not part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I feel like this stuff can really resonate with you as well, but it is going to be mentioning some things in the church. So first of all, there's this paper, and it says, what's the difference? And on this side, it says doing your best, and on this side, it says perfectionism. And I'm just going to share a couple that I personally was like, wow. So on the perfectionism side, these are things that you might be feeling. So mistakes bring feelings of self-hatred. You don't want to do anything because you're afraid of failure. And then on the doing your best side, it kind of correlates with those feelings. It says, this is how you should be feeling. You know it's okay if you've made a mistake. You move on and see your mistake as an opportunity for growth or learning. So I'm just gonna, so the first one is how I feel and how I'm sure a lot of other people feel. And the second one is how a healthy, how you should feel, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't like saying should, but it's a good way of thinking about things. So let's go down to the second one. So your need to do things perfectly leads to procrastination until you have time to do it perfectly, and you feel driven by fear or duty instead of love. This one got me, and this one has a lot to do with why I haven't done another YouTube video. So I would sit down, film, stop, and I just pushed it off. Procrastination. And I was like, nope, maybe next week. Because if I was not feeling it that day or whatever, if I kept stumbling on my words, I would instantly stop after 5 minutes and get frustrated. Sorry, my 20% battery just popped up. But anyways, I would just be driven by fear instead of duty or love, which is where I feel like I want this channel to come from, is a place of love, because I love to learn things and I love to share things, and when it becomes a duty, it's not fun for me. So anyways, we're gonna go to the healthy way of feeling. You can find joy in doing the things you love, and you can get things accomplished. So the last one I want to share is perfectionism is self-centered. You measure yourself against your own standards and against others' standards, not God's. And then the way that you should be feeling, it says, trying to do your best and perfecting yourself line upon line with the Savior's help is Christ-centered because you need the atonement. And this is the one that goes into kind of the gospel. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But on to the second page. So this one actually talks about the mission field and missionaries, which really applies to me right now, and so it really resonates. But I think that this can definitely help anyone. And so I'm going to read it, and hopefully I can read it in a way that you can kind of resonate as well. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So this says, one of the most common complaints of missionaries who seek services at the MTC Counseling Center is distress related to high expectations. While it is true that the MTC is a setting where missionaries receive much instruction and training that stresses the need for hard work, high goals, increasing one's spirituality, etc., it is also true that some of the pressure that a missionary may feel can come from self-imposed, unrealistically high personal standards. These high standards may be one of the manifestation of a perfectionist personality style. And I feel like this can apply to anyone, and I think especially with people in the church, with how many rules there are, a lot of people can feel overwhelmed to a point, and they can just start counting the expectations, and it gets overwhelming when you do that. And so I also think with society and with social media and Instagram and how your life should be portrayed and what's successful in the world, that can definitely weigh on people too. And so I'm going to move on. It says, it is uncommon for a missionary to request help with his or her perfectionistic style. Rather, help is sought for the uncomfortable feelings that develop. Common symptoms reported include sleep disturbance, appetite disturbance, difficulty concentrating, loss of pleasure, crying, pessimism, headaches, stomach pains, and nausea. While these symptoms can be caused by a variety of influences, perfectionism is considered when the missionary's personality style includes some of the following characteristics. So now it's going to list some characteristics. If your personality has this, it doesn't mean you're a perfectionist, but if you kind of resonate with a few or more of these things, I'd maybe just kind of think about how you think about things. So the first one is preoccupation with details, rules, order, or schedules, excessive devotion to work, to the exclusion of pleasure and interpersonal relationships, indecisiveness, which leads to avoiding or delaying decision-making, adopting a personality style which is seen by others as formal, serious, and lacking warmth, feeling comfortable only when things go one's way, a high need for control, fear of making errors, an inclination to worry, ruminate or doubt, a need to be above criticism in all things, cautiousness, and a chronic inner pressure to use every minute productively. So that's a lot, and that's a lot to take in. I resonate with a lot of these, and one of these is kind of weird, but it's really kind of had an impact on me throughout my whole life, and it's the adopting a personality style which is seen by others as formal, serious, and lacking warmth. And when I am stressed, or when something is going on that I think about a lot, or if I'm in a social situation where I don't feel completely comfortable, I automatically turn very serious. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just I kind of shut down because I can't live up to the expectation I have for myself, but I find myself doing that. And then also cautiousness and a chronic inner pressure to use every minute productively is something I also resonate a lot with. I had 2 hours after work today, and I'm using like one of them to film this, but at work and on my way home from work, I was just thinking, like, what am I gonna do with those 2 hours? Like, I have something at 7, but what am I gonna do before then? Like, I need to find something because I have this to-do list in my head. And so it just kind of takes over your day. So I'm gonna move on. And it says, while the MTC Counseling Center cannot offer extensive therapy, we have found many missionaries have benefited from such things as, so these are a few things that you can benefit from if you can't receive therapy right away, or if therapy just isn't really an option right now. So it says, understanding their personal style and learning to set realistic expectations, learn to relax, learning to take charge of their thinking patterns, learning to achieve inner peace and increase self-esteem, understanding the LDS doctrine of perfectionism, which I'm going to get to in just a second. And then it says, overcoming perfectionism is a slow but accomplishable process. We all need to learn how to become our own best friend and how to find pleasure in accomplishing tasks as well as in successful results. And so, yeah, so those are some things that you can do. Learning to relax, taking charge of your thinking patterns, which is interrupting distorted thinking. That's also something that I'm going to make a video about in the future. And then understanding your personal style. That's really interesting for me. I grew up with a mom who is always on time, always wanting to be early to things, very punctual, and I mean, as a kid, like, it gave me a lot of structure, but growing up and growing into my own person, I realized that I'm not like that, and I don't know why, because I feel like I should have turned out like that because my mom was like that, but for some reason or another, I wasn't the most punctual. I was okay with being a couple minutes late to things. I was okay with not giving an answer right away when someone might need an answer, which I would like to work on those things, but I know that naturally it just doesn't come to me than it does to my mom. And so to understand your personal style and to learn to set realistic expectations is so important. And I think it's very important with people you're interacting with as well. Like, if I have a friend who might be a little less punctual as I am, or who might be a little lenient in different areas, like, I need to learn how to set realistic expectations for them and to not let my high expectations of myself manifest themselves on other people. And so that was just a little tangent, but sorry, this video is getting so long, so I'm just going to move on to the third source. So this has to do with the gospel, and I really love this source. I feel like it really helps to kind of get what is perfectionism. We're commanded in Matthew 5:48, be ye therefore perfect. So what does that mean? And recently I've heard this a lot of times, that the word perfect derives from old words that mean complete. And so instead of perfect, in this life we're supposed to become complete, which you can interpret that however you want, but as my counselor kind of talked to me about it, he said that it's just whatever you do right now is complete, and it's living in the present, and whatever is happening, and as long as you're, like, doing your best, you're okay. And see, that doing your best thing, that can also trigger perfectionism, but here's some words of peace, I hope, and some words of encouragement. that come from the Book of Mormon. So King Benjamin taught us to be diligent, but not to run faster than we have strength. Sorry, this is by David H. Coombs. It's titled Perfectionism. So we want to be faithful and work hard, but we don't want to be so overwhelmed we suffer from depression and despair. While all of us feel the urgency to grow and to develop, we must not expect to achieve more than what is realistic. When we are so anxious to do everything right, we forget to turn our life over to the Lord. He describes himself as the vine and we are the branches. We receive our nourishment and strength from him. When we realize that without him we are nothing, then we are more willing to surrender ourselves to his will. Letting go and letting God is a phrase that reminds us that when we are full of anxiety, we are holding on too tightly. The amazing paradox to all of this, we are better Latter-day Saints when we develop the courage to be imperfect. We give up unnecessary guilt and thus experience the promised peace. We learn self-tolerance, which prevents spiritual and emotional burnout and allows us to better love ourselves and others. And so basically only through Christ can we become perfect. And the quote, letting go and letting God, has really resonated with me the past couple months, and also be still my soul. I think it's really cool. There was a translation of it and it just kind of means like the same thing, let go and let God, like be still my soul. You need to calm down, relax, you know? And so, so that's just kind of my thoughts on perfectionism. These are some things, sorry, there's something going on out there. It's like a motorcycle, I don't even know. They're so loud, but anyways. I will wait. Sorry, the inner teacher. Anyways, those are some of my thoughts on perfectionism. I'm so distracted. Okay, so yeah. I just wanted to speak from the heart. I didn't have a whole bunch of notes, and so I'm sorry if it was a little scatterbrained. I kind of wanted to let you guys know what's going on, why I haven't been on, but I also wanted to just kind of tell you what I've been dealing with and what's kind of been like a big struggle that's happened in my life pretty recently, and that maybe if you're feeling this way, that it was encouragement and it was a little bit of comfort. And for those of you who don't practice religion, who aren't a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or any other church, like I know that there's a lot of encouragement out there as well, and I think mindfulness is a huge thing that I have found. Meditation and yoga is probably the best thing that we can do for ourselves when we need to relax, and so I know that those things definitely help, and I've tried out both, and I know they work, and I know that if we let go and let God, then it will all work out for us. And guys, I haven't figured this stuff out. I mean, I'm telling you all of this, but this is just my research. This is my strategizing. I have not completely put it in action yet, and that's what I'm wanting to do. And so when I start doing it, and I mean, I've started implementing a few things, but I mean, you're here with me along this journey, and I feel like, I mean, I'll be sharing whatever I find, because I find it very comforting and very interesting to know that that this is a thing that people struggle with, and especially in today's world, it's really hard not to get caught up in it, and I'm rambling. So I'm gonna end this video here, and I hope that you guys have a really good rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is for you, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.